Well, hey everybody. Sorry we have ran a few minutes late because I've had my head straight up my keister. I am Don.
And I'm Tom, and
And
this is the vlog of many things.
all right, let's get this show on the road. We got all kinds of comments real quick, Tom. Let's go ahead and first address these real quick.
I'll have to,
Rod, thank you.
yeah,
Rod says of all the scary parts of being a publisher, putting together prototypes is one of the scariest because a lot of money goes into those for a crapshoot. Darn right.
and it's made even worse by the fact that you're as a prototype, it's like a one off or a five off, and it's the price point on those has to be high. It's not like you're spreading that price out over 1,000 units,
Well, yeah, you're making a one-off, or maybe you're making, like in my case, I always do like two or three.
right?
But Mark's Genre Mixer, Mark, thank you for swinging by. I think you're new to our channel here. He says, "What's up, guys? Great news! You'll be working with Tenkarna's rule set." Hell yes.
Yeah, thank you,
What's there
Mark.
not to like?
Appreciate that vote of confidence.
Tabletop tap room, tabletop tap room. Get that bum out of here. Who is that? Jeez, man. 3 comments. Scott Mulder, how you guys doing? Well, you know what? Howdy to you too. Let's get right into this. Tom, you want to lead this off? You're saying.
Well, we've had some people reach out to us concerning some Kickstarters that we're not updating, and I was really flattered by that. Partly because it's like Eric Tenkar has he's like planted that flag in the YouTube space and the OSR space to be the guy who has consistently reported. So I'm flattered that people have reached out to us to say, hey, we're concerned about this Kickstarter, that Kickstarter. We're not getting updates. We're not getting, we're wondering about shipping. And so that kind of led us to do this. And then, we felt like maybe it wouldn't be the biggest topic. Like shipping can be fairly well handled quickly. So we thought we'd also do prototyping, since Don found some prototype photos of a game that he actually sold and did not produce. But I don't want to spoil too much on that. But so with Don, what are we going to talk about first? Are we going to talk shipping, or do we want to talk prototyping first?
You know what, honestly, I'm going to switch this up. Let's talk about shipping first because shipping is the quickest and easiest way to deal with this. And I think shipping will be real easy for people to kind of grasp on because a lot of people don't understand about shipping.
All right. Well, there was a Kickstarter that updated that they had a 40-foot by 48-foot pallet coming from China, and it was for a card game. And I'm thinking, like, 40 by 40 foot, that's like 1,900 square feet. That's like, that's a little bit bigger than the house my grandfather built that's attached to this edition I'm in
Well,
right now.
I will give the creator grace here, okay?
I
I
think
think he meant inches.
yeah.
All right. All right. So I'll give the creator grace on this, that, inches, feet, because to be honest with you, I mean, if he bought a container load full, and that's what it'd be, a container load literally full of cards, he's got a lot of excess stock. But
Yeah, he's got a 1,900 square foot house on a
yeah,
pallet coming from China.
but
Uh,
the thing that people have to understand about shipping, and Rod, you've done international importation and all that, but a lot of people have not. And I want to explain a little bit about, for those of you who do not understand what this is all about. First of all, um, I'm sure everybody has ordered something from China and they got it from China. Maybe you ordered a mixer, or you ordered a game from China, something like that. But for game companies, when we import, like with me, I import paper, I import cardstock, and for my last Kickstarter I did, trying to be proactive, I went ahead and dealt with a game company and had them manufacture and ship them to me. And what you have to understand is I've got a lot of questions because the Kickstarter has been delayed. And now we're at the point where it's been released by customs security, but it's on hold because they're shipping storage fees. And people are going to me, well, Don, why don't you just pay them? Well, because it's over $3,000 in storage fees right now.
Holy cow.
And And the most important thing to understand is my shipping deal with them was what they call, and I want to get this right because this is very, very important to understand, is
While
you
you
see
pull that up, let
if
me
I can
answer
hold this up.
Waybear's.
Oh, I
Let
can't
me
hold it
answer
up. It's too
Rod's
big.
question while you look that up.
Go ahead. No, you're fine.
He says it's weird how I can't see all the comments. Like I can't see tabletops comments until they show up in the video. I think that might be a function of the fact that I'm not on YouTube commenting in the live stream comments. I'm on StreamYard right now commenting, and so I
Yes.
just figured my comments would show up.
Yep.
So something new. I didn't know it would go
Yeah.
that way, but now we've learned something new.
Yep.
So I should probably open a second tab of YouTube over here.
Yeah,
The
no problem.
comment. So apologies, Waybear, Rod. That's my
We're
bad.
being-
Now we've learned.
Yep. All right. For those of you who do not understand something is this is when you do importation from overseas, okay? And you'll see that you'll get, for those who are thinking about dealing with China manufacturers, you'll see that they are very astute at being very detailed about their estimates. They'll list out what kind of card stock it is, millimeters, everything. At the very bottom, it'll say shipping. And what a lot of people ignore is it'll say like shipping to, in my case, 979 Wagner, Battle Creek, Michigan. But then there's a 3-letter little code next to that. And in mine, it said DDU, David Uniform. Now, why is DDU so important to me as a individual who's importing games from China or importing anything from China? Because those 3-letter digits determine whether or not they're guaranteeing you and they're charging you from their door to your door, or if they're just saying this is going to U.S. Customs and at that point it's your baby. And so you're responsible for importation fees, taxes, or anything like that. And that's what DDU means. And for D20 Delving, my shipping code is DDU, which means it goes to my door. So the manufacturer is responsible for paying those shipping fees. So importation of goods into the United States is something that if anybody is a publisher and they think that they're just going to go ahead and slapshod import, you got to be really careful because some Chinese manufacturers don't want to take the chance and they'll do something like DDP or DAP. And what those codes basically mean is there's different codes. I mean, DDP basically the seller assumes the maximum responsibility and cost. So as an example, I import it from China. If it was DDP as an example, I would have to pay all the shipping charges as far as like holding fees, taxes, and all that. Right. So I always make sure mine say DDU. And if you are dealing with a Chinese company and they have something like DDP or DAP as the code, put your foot down and tell them that you won't buy it unless it's DDU, unless it's coded the proper way, and they'll change it. They will, because they want the sale.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're just looking to dodge a bullet, and like that's that's kind of human nature, isn't it?
Well, yes and no, but you have to understand something, and this is where we Americans have the edge over the Chinese manufacturers. There are so many game manufacturers in China. There are so many of them. They're scrambling for business, and you can use against them the fact that there's other manufacturers. Simply tell them, okay, I'm not mad. I'll just go to someone else. And you'll find that very quickly they'll respond to you.
But this would be for a, like if you're doing the full printing, a full print run for a big Kickstarter, you would probably, it's my impression that you would go to one of the domestic game printers for a prototype.
Well, that's the problem. There aren't hardly any domestic game manufacturers out there. Because the problem is, of the game manufacturers out there that are domestic, most have large minimums. Like, as an example, Delano Games in my hometown, Battle Creek, Michigan. If you go to them and you say, I want a board game, they're going to tell you, we don't want it. They want a minimum of 2,500 units. So you have to go to places like, oh, I'm trying to think of the name of the place. They're out of Wisconsin. Um, oh, I wish I plugged their business. Even though I make games, I plug their business. Basically, of the stateside manufacturers of games that will let you do one or two or three knockoffs, you'll spend $100 to make your board game.
Right.
You know, Game Crafter. That's what it is.
But that does facilitate, playtesting, which is so important. I mean, we didn't plan to talk about playtesting, but I mean, having those prototypes handy, help you with the playtesting so you can work out the kinks.
Well, yes, but Elke Antioch says, isn't there one big German game manufacturer? Yes, there is. There's actually two large German game manufacturers, and one in Belgium, one in France. But the problem is, again, even if they're willing to make you one or two games, the shipping on that one or two games from Germany to the United States it's going to make the games over 150 bucks a piece.
Yeah.
So, and again, a lot of those manufacturers, they don't want to deal with small makers. They don't want to make one or two. They don't even want to make 500. It's not worth their time to fire up their machines to make that. And that's the reason why you have smaller manufacturers like GameCrafter who have found their niche.
Right.
GameCrafter does not sell games to serious game publishers who are doing mass runs. Their bread and butter is that probably 1 to 25 units. The guy I'm gonna throw a name out there, Mick McArt, who deals with clown shoes manufacturing out of North Carolina. They go ahead and they only want to buy 10 or 15 or 20 because they're selling them at a craft show.
Right.
But serious publishers who want to put out it's like with D20 Delving. I did a low run with them. I did 500 units. That's an extremely low run. And now that this has all been delayed, I have enough paper. I'm going to be putting out 1,200 units of it. So,
Yeah, well, Europe's always been a problem because of the VAT tax that various countries have. And, I tried to order miniatures manufactured in Italy. And I was ordering $100 worth of miniatures, and the bill was going to be, $300, and I was like, no, cancel. I'm not doing that.
Well, again, you have to understand, game manufacturing. Why is China the place a lot of guys go? Why? Because number one, and I'm not knocking a country here, but there's a bona fide fact is they're known. They don't pay their workers anything. They're subsidized by the Chinese government, so they're paid basically a stipend to keep prices low, and they're allowed to do that because they also, a lot of times, these factories have large housing units that are part of the factory, and workers live there. Mm-hmm. And you basically walk 150 feet to the manufacturing floor. They feed you, they do everything, and then you go to bed and you come back to it the next day because it's a different mentality of how people work over there.
It's almost like slave labor.
It's exactly like slave labor over there.
You're on the plantation and
yeah. So, but the thing that people do not understand who've never manufactured games, like we manufacture games, and people go, well, like with us here in later on 2024, when we move in July into our new our building and headquarters, we're going to have dedicated POD we're going to offer people. And we're going to do that 1 to 25 units if you want that. But what you have to understand is, like a binding machine. This is a good example. In order for me to bind, let's say Rod, I'm going to bind Rod's. Rod wants 3 prototypes. And if I don't have anything else to do that week or that day, I have to pour the glue in the glue channel. I have to heat that glue up. And after I'm done making his 3 games, what do I got to do? I got to take 4 hours, strip the machine, and clean it. Same thing with 12 color digital press that we use. We use Epson 12 color digital presses. We have 2 of them now. And the problem with that is that it's not like a standard printer in your office. When you're done doing a print run, you have to clean that machine. You have to clean all the print heads. You have to soak them in alcohol, 99% isopropyl alcohol. You have to clean them out real good and everything because that ink will dry very quickly in there. So that's why these manufacturers go, I want 500 units. It's going to make it worth my while to pay my labor to do it.
Right.
But the reason why Game Crafter doesn't do that is because Game Crafter has found their niche, and I'm not knocking. They got a great market plan there. You know, they're not looking for a guy who wants 500 units. They want that guy wanting 1 to 50, 1 to 25. 100 units is a big order for them for one game.
Wow.
Yeah. So, you know, Mark Gendry Mixer says, like hearing step one on the sausage is made, this channel and Troll Lord Games have educated me on what goes into printing. You know what? A lot goes into printing. It's not just like you think, like, I'll just go ahead and print off a bunch of games.
Well, I can say that I've learned a lot from Don that I'm like, oh, I didn't realize, you know, and it's sometimes it is good to know what goes into the sausage mixer.
Well, if you're going to become a publisher, a game publisher, my advice to anybody that is going to become a game publisher is learn about your product and how your product is made. One of the things that we're going to be doing in mid to late July is we're going to start doing a series of videos, and we're going to show you what goes into making a board game or what goes into binding a book. And, you know, I get people all the time going, what do you mean a 12-color printer? Yeah, it's a 12-color process. We use 4 shades of black. You know, and people go, what? They don't understand that. So we're going to utilize Wizard Tower Games' page to educate people on what it takes to do that. And a thing we're thinking about doing is we're going to have webcams installed. So as an example, when your game is being manufactured, we're going to give you an access code and you can actually watch us printing and binding your game or making your board game or anything like that.
Cool.
Because we have samples of what they look like in prototype.
Well, I can attest to a lot goes into binding a book. Because back in the 2007, 2005 era, that period of time, I found a DIY, thing on the internet about how to bind a book, and so I actually printed, because I didn't have a hardcover Star Frontiers Nighthawks rule book. I actually ran off the printer, all the pages, and I followed the tutorial, and and I actually created a hardbound book by hand, a one-off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And and I have that. It's in the. I was just looking for it here, but it's in the back craft room. It was a lot of work.
Well, and Rod asks
it's
a
not
really
that great quality wise.
But the thing is, you get an appreciation of what it's like a little bit to make something. Oh, yeah. And Rod brings up a really good question. He says, also, the difference between RGB, CMYK, and why it's important you plan on printing stuff. Okay. For those of you who don't know, RGB is what your computer monitor's color is. Red, green, blue. Believe it or not, that's what makes up your monitors, RGB. But CMYK is what they call 4-color process. It's what us in the printing business will say, make sure that when you're designing your game product on your computer, you don't set it for RGB, you set it for CMYK. Because if you set it for RGB, it'll look one way, and when we print it, it could be radically different. That's why we always say, well, we'll make you 1 or 2 prototypes. Why is a prototype? Because just in case you made a mistake and colors aren't the way you like it, we can adjust those and do. So that's a really good point that Rod made.
All the tutorials for Photoshop for working with like InDesign, they warn you about that.
Absolutely.
When you're learning InDesign to do layout, they talk about that RGB versus CMYK.
It's critical.
And yeah, it's very critical. And that was my first clue to start paying attention to that, was just trying to do layout, work my way through a tutorial. And the guy was very educational. Of course, I've learned more from you in the process of our association. But yeah, it's true. I remember being a kid and sitting so close to the TV, I could see the little dots, the three little color dots in there, and I'm like, oh wow, that's interesting. It's just three little colors, and they vary them.
Well, and it's just like sometimes and people can answer this in the question in the comment section. You guys ever see like a photo of like book covers on a sheet, and you'll see in the bottom corner there's like a crosshairs, and you'll see little boxes that are like magenta and black and yellow and red color or off pink color. That's CMYK, and those crosshairs and stuff what they call registration marks. Those are what happens. The computer locks onto those crosshairs, if you will, and it helps align everything properly. So when it's printing in the same with very little deviation. Because when you're cutting everything also, and this is really hypercritical in cards, because we do card production. And when that card press goes down and cuts, 132 cards at a time, clunk, you want to make sure that it's lined up properly.
You don't want to waste 132 cards at a time.
No, but you do. You do a lot. But Elk of Antioch says, do you have any tips on how to make one board game for yourself? Is there any do-it-yourself method for making commercial quality game? Yes and no. My yes is you can go on Amazon.com and you can buy like a basic build your own board game kit.
Okay.
The board is different size boards. They're all white. If you have a large enough printer, you can print, like most people don't though. Most people's printers will print the maximum of 11 by 17.
Let me make a suggestion.
Sure.
If you need something big printed, you just load it on a thumb drive and go down to Staples, and they've got the print center, and the guy in there is very knowledgeable, and you could be like, you can talk about the quality of the printing you want with him, and he'll be like, oh, so you might want this level of printing. It'll be this much cost versus this much cost. And they're very helpful that way. And so, but also I would say not just go to Amazon, but I would go to Instructables. That was where I found the tutorial. I couldn't think of it for a minute there, but Instructables.com was where I found the tutorial on bookbinding and doing a hardcover book. And I thought, I'm going to do a hardcover Star Frontiers book. But of course, now Wizards of the Coast has released Star Frontiers in hardcover, 40-year-old game. They get it on drive-through. But, I did my first hardcover was I made it myself.
But keep in mind one thing. Yeah. If you go to Staples, it's going to cost you $75 to print that board game piece of paper that you glue on top of the board. So again, you can make it yourself, Elk of Antioch, but the problem is it's not going to be cost effective. That's why you go to some place like, and again, I'm a maker, but I'm going to plug them. You go to, Game Makers, and you go ahead, or Game Crafter, and you go ahead and you just have them do it. They put out a solid product. They do. I've seen their products. They use good quality equipment. And yeah, you're going to spend probably for what you'd pay at Staples for that one piece for your board, you'll buy the entire game through Game Crafter. And when we're online in July doing POD, that's something that we're going to do also is we're going to offer people, like if you want to order just 1 or 2 or 3 games, we'll go ahead and do it for you. It's not a big deal. Elk Antioch also says, awesome, Tom. Thanks. That's cool. RGB Grandma, how you doing? Thank you for tuning in. So prototypes. All right. What Tom was alluding to before is that it's not any secret that I used to work with New TSR. Surprise.
Yeah. which is something you've regretted ever since.
Amen. But in all truthfulness, though, when I sold them the game Dungeon Crawl, I had already prototyped that game. And then you have the version that they had made. And I wanted to show you some photos of the differences in them.
Okay. So TSR's Dungeon Crawl is the production game that they've gone to China. They've paid for 1,000, 2,000, 1,500 copies of the game, and yours is just the.
Mine was what they call a 98%. You'll hear that term sometimes in game manufacturing. And that is what a 98% is when you got the game almost totally done. you make what they call a 98% copy, which is like 98% what production level would be like if I was going to give it to a store and sell it. What's the difference? The packaging is 100% spot on, but maybe you're just not sure about the way things look, the colors, the finish. That's why it's 98%. So let me show you something real quick. I will say the Lizard Man logo that I'm getting ready to show on one of the games is currently a trademark that is in dispute between Wizards of the Coast and or TSR Hobbies. I am not claiming ownership of that. I am merely showing it on this video, me and Tom are, for the purposes of education and for critical review. Now that I got that nauseating thing out of the way, all right, so this right here is basically my version right here, which I go more of a matte, and they went for full high gloss. And as you can see, the color differentials, and I'm just going to be blunt here. They both pretty much are the same layout, but as you can see, the colors are more brighter and more condensed on my version. And I think that it's a little bit more clear. Honest opinions, I won't be offended, everybody. If you think my version is shit, say it. I'm not offended. I'm an open book. I have no ego when it comes to game design. Rod says it's called the 98% rule because you find 90% of the errors that are setting it off printing. Amen. You know what? No matter, Rod, would you agree with this? No matter how hard you work at it, you're always going to find something. There's always going to be something, you know? But basically, as you can see, the one on the left, which is our production copy, the blues are brighter. They're more cleaner. You can see her a little bit. The artwork was by a New Zealand artist named Matt Forsyth. Great guy, awesome guy to work with. Elka Antioch. Yeah, his name is Matt Forsyth. He is an awesome artist out of New Zealand.
I'm noticing something here that I just now.
Sure.
It just jumped in my face just now. You developed this board game by yourself, and the other one on the right of the screen with the Lizard Man logo says with Ernie Gygax Jr. like he had something to do with it.
He didn't. Well, let me back up. Yes, he did. Okay, a little bit of an insider story here, if I may, if anyone's interested, is I was dealing with new TSR from about June of 2021 until January of 2022. So about a 6-month period there. And I had sold Mr. Lanasa, the owner of new TSR, the game rights in December of 2021. And so for that 30-day corresponding period, Ernie did get involved, but what he did was he got involved in editing the game, changing the cards, adding to the cards. Justin Lanasa changed some of the cards. They did a lot of changing to the rules. They modified the rules. They basically TSR'd it, new TSR'd it. I'll just leave it at that. And this again, people go, why'd you agree to it? Well, you have to understand something. I explained this in another video. Is you got a couple different ways you can sell a game. You can sell a game where you have creative control of it, or you can just say lock, stock, and barrel is yours, and that's how I sold it to them.
Well, so then you would not be the source of the infamous WTF card that's in there.
No, and I'm not the source of the Tenkarian Gibberer or some other cards that are in there, and I was definitely not the source, to Ernie's credit, of another card that was going to be about Darlene the artist that I'm not going to utter the name of the card here, but I'll just simply say that it's a derogatory term usually used for females, and it rhymes with runt. So you guys figure that out for yourself. That was a card that someone who I'll not name his name, we'll call him Voldemort for the sake of this video, wanted in the card.
So, well, I want to comment on that. So
Sure.
Ernie put his foot down and said, "You're not going to put in a see you next Tuesday card."
Yep.
Because of his love and appreciation for Darlene artists, but he allowed a card mocking his own brother to go in.
Yes.
It seems odd to me because
well, the card in question, real quick, is called Lucius the Demon. And the reason why it's Lucius is, Luke's name is Lucius. I mean, that's just his name. I mean, it's not a secret. It's nothing, or anything like that. Real quick, Tom, let's get some comments here real quick. Mark's January Mixer says, at some time, could you discuss ways to obtain out-of-print or obscure games no longer available? Also, what would it take to get the rights to produce a dead game once again? I can answer these questions real quick.
Wow.
As far as out-of-print, obscure games, unless you find it on Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, or someplace else like that, you're just not going to be able to get them. And for those of you who have files or scan, you see on eBay, especially older D&D modules, people scanning old modules and selling them, that's illegal. That's trademark violation. That's an IP violation. And you do that, let's just put it this way, I'll defer you to the Wizards of the Coast civil suit right now that is running almost $1 million in fees for Wizards of the Coast. Yes, they will go after you. So don't think that just because you're a small fry, they won't go after you. Step on their IP, yes, they will. Now, real quick, and rights to a dead game. My suggestion is if you know who owns the intellectual property rights to the game, it doesn't hurt. Reach out to them, say, I'd like to make your game again. Talk to them. Maybe they'll work a deal with you. You never know. Yeah. Rod says, that's a tough one, Mark. It really depends. If it's a lost IP still held by one person, might be possible. Something like Thundar owned by corporations. Exactly, because I'll give you an example. I reached out as Wizard Tower Games to another game company for a game, and it wasn't Wizard of the Coast. And they agreed to let me produce the game, but they wanted a $500,000 licensing fee. Yeah, okay.
And you said, yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay, buddy. RPG Grandma, she says, the Anglo-Saxon word for woman. Exactly. So the thing is, there's one way, and then go ahead.
It had a suffix to it. It was blank Asaurus was going to be the card for Dark.
Yes. And so thank God that did make it in. And I'll be totally honest with you. The discussion that I had with it is the second that card's approved is the second night I'm off the project. And that was in second week in December. So,
but it actually took Ernie putting his foot down.
Ernie put his foot down pretty heavy. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is another image, as you can see.
I thought he did. That was disgusting.
Yeah. So as you can see, the boxes are different, thicker. I don't use, this is my right here, as you can see, I don't use the infamous thermometer. I actually have standardized. I mean, you have to have standardized stuff on your game that's universally understood. And this symbology is understood universally by most game companies. So, and again, it's different materials. I like more of a like an eggshell finish on my board games. I don't like gloss because it can wear off real easy. It can scuff real easy. Whereas eggshell has a little bit better of a shelf wear, if you will. So if you have things rubbing up against it. And then also here, again, okay, critical. And oh my, will I harp on this. All right. UPC codes and ISBN codes. All right. UPC codes basically are a barcode that when scanned, it's like an ISBN barcode. But the difference is ISBN numbers are reserved for printed books and printed media like that. UPC barcodes are for product, for actual product. They're different. The one on the bottom is not a real barcode. That goes nowhere. It doesn't go into the database. It does nothing. The one on the top is a legitimate UPC barcode. And let me give you a little lesson on UPC barcodes. When you look at a UPC barcode, number 1 designates that it's United States of America.
Okay.
95893 is Wizard Tower Games' ID number with the UPC barcode authority. And then the other ones designate what the product is within our slot. There could be other 30187s out there, but it's attached to a different identifier for the retailer. So if you go into Rod, you probably have access. If you went into the UPC database and pulled up 95893, you'll see it's Wizard Tower Games. And if you type in, if you hit general search all products, you'll see 30187. It'll be Dungeon Crawl, and then next to it, you'll see it as Dead Product. Because once we sold the product to Wizard or to TSR, we went ahead immediately, like you're supposed to by law, go in and you dead name it. It's called dead naming it. So, also a couple of things. This symbology down here, as you can see, is on ours also. First of all, they never got certified through CPSIA for an EN71 safety requirements, which is basically certifying the game for children under the age of 12 years old. And then the warning, choking hazard, small parts, not for children under 3 years of age, because our CPSIA rating is for children 4 up. And it has to do with sizes of items in the game, how big the windpipe of a child is. They do all kinds of such. That certification alone is $400. And so many game manufacturers put that on their games, but they don't get certified. The problem is if I arbitrarily put that on a game, or anybody thinking about doing this for a living, don't put safety certifications on your game unless you're certified, because if someone gets harmed and they go and check to see if CPSIA certified this game and it's not, and you're found to have done this, number one, you're not covered under bankruptcy law, under bankruptcy protection. So when they sue you and you lose, you might as well just go ahead and move out of your house and sign it over to them and your car and everything else, because they get it all, because that's fraud. Plus, there's also another unknown law. And again, we're getting into some weeds here, but I think it's very important for those of you out there who are thinking about doing game publication as a profession. Stating that a game is safety certified and it not be safety certified is a felony. It's a crime. It's fraud.
So can you scroll down? Show us the. So
Yep.
that's on there, and you're telling
they are not certified, because I can go into the CPSIA database and I can check.
TSR LLC committed a crime?
Well, I'm not okay. For the sake of this video, I am not saying that they committed a crime. The only thing I am saying is this: if a game manufacturer puts false safety certifications on their games, that is a crime. That's fraud. It's written in the federal code. And when I go into the CPSIA database and I check to see the certification for Dungeon Crawl, there's only one, and that's by Wizard Tower Games, UPC code number, and it is dead named, it's called. So the product is no longer being manufactured by us. So that certification, I don't know where they got it from, other than they got the graphic. And number two,
certification got lost in the mail.
Maybe, who knows? And then on top of that, this UPC code, I don't even know what it is. 91959. I mean,
well, the 6, what would if 1 indicates made in America, what would the 6 indicate?
Hard telling. I don't know. I'm not up on all the country codes. So, you just, this is a really good lesson here. And the lesson is this: look, I know that people like doing their passions. Okay. You do. And I respect anybody. In fact, me and Tom right now are talking to a young game manufacturer. Remember him earlier?
Yeah.
We're talking to him. Hey, we're talking to him. He's not listening, but we're talking to him. And the thing is, I respect any young person or old guy like me and Tom who wants to become a game publisher. It is a great business to get into. But I've said this in other videos, and I will harp on it to anybody watching this video right now. Listen, folks, if you're going to do it right. And
well, with that particular game manufacturer, we determined that the game he published, it doesn't have a real ISBN number, and it's not in the database. And
no,
so
none of his products are.
One of his
in the database
was that he could not get it accepted by distributors, and so he was blaming the fact that it kind of went into a little bit of political stuff with, because he's a Native American, and it was and it kind of touched on history and Native stuff, and so
Yeah.
it's like white distributors don't want to carry my game, and I'm like, you don't have an ISBN, they don't want to
Okay,
carry my
I
game.
will. I'll be blunt about it. All right, that's a bunch of bullshit. That's trying to race bait people, and that's not being responsible for your own actions. Let's get into that real quick. Why would a place like Barnes and Noble want to carry your game, Tom? Let's say my game. Why wouldn't they? Well, let me show you something real quick, and this is extremely important for people to understand. And I get this argument all the time from people, and it is just, oh, hold on a minute. Let me find the bloody thing. All right. Let me real quickly just pull this
Yes,
up.
Rod, that is true.
What did Rod have to say? Read it out. I can't hear.
Yeah, he's you're telling me that a company that uses Port City Kava LLC, a company ordered closed by the Revenue Department of North Carolina, to process online payments for DHS LLC, doesn't make sure that they have their I's dotted or T's crossed. Shocking. Yes, Rod, that is very, very true. And
All right.
not quite so shocking.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to get the most essential training in if you want to get your game carried by online retailers or store retailers, more important, right here. So if you're a game manufacturer or publisher and you want, or you're an author and you want to make sure that places like Barnes & Noble and game shops will carry your stuff, watch this part. Your better half has arrived. Hi, Tammy.
Hey, babe.
Gentlemen, where? Any rate, all right. As you can see, there's this right here, okay? This is an ISBN number. It starts with 978-940-155 is my publisher ID number with Boker, my identifiers, the people who issue ISBN numbers. All right, you see the big barcode, and then there's a little one that starts with 51?
Yeah.
All right, this is critical. When you look at, and I'm going to pick on new TSR stuff, when you look at their ISBN numbers, they've got the big one and they got the little one. And the little one is 90000. It's what they call a 90,000 number. Okay? But if you notice, mine is 51599. Okay, when Barnes & Noble grabs your book and they scan it, the scanner actually scans two numbers at once. It scans the big barcode, which tells it is, in this case, it is the Haunted Ruins, okay? And then it automatically will scan that smaller barcode, which is called an EAN number, Edward Alpha November, EAN number, and that is the price code. When it is a 90,000 price code, the price will always scan up as $0. That's why Barnes & Noble, you will never see a book in Barnes & Noble with a 90,000 price code barcode, that second barcode. You'll never see it in their store.
How do you get a 90,000?
Okay, what you have to do is you can go online and you can buy ISBNs and barcodes online from any myriad of resellers. Be careful. They're all, 99% of them are fraudulent. And the reason why I say that is because keep in mind one thing. When you see this barcode 978-1940155, that tells you 978 it's a book published in the United States of America. 940155 tells you that is that is Wizard Tower Games is the publisher. Okay. And then 12-8, or it can be 1-28. Really, you can put it any way you want. That tells you that product is the product key number. So when they look it up, they'll see that that's Haunted Ruins by Wizard Tower Games, all of that. And then the 51599 says that it is $15.99. That designates $15.99. 5 is the country code. It was published in the United States.
Okay. So When you go to these barcode resellers, these ISBN number resellers, to save a buck and just buy a couple of cheap resold barcodes,
Well,
you're actually screwing yourself over because you cannot now sell your product in a brick and mortar.
well, yes, you can. Yes,
Okay.
you can, because sometimes they'll put the price code on it, but this is the problem. If, let's say, RPG Grandma and Tammy Veralt, your wife, opens up Grandma and Tammy's Publishing, and they go online and they buy a bunch of ISBNs from Joe Blow ISBN service. They get a good deal. The prices are great. The problem is all those ISBNs will be registered to Joe Blow's ISBN service. They're not registered to you. So really the only place that you should be going to get your ISBNs, and for those of you who want this, and I'll put this in the comments after the video, is what you want to do is you want to go to a website called myidentifiers.com. myidentifiers.com, and you'll see Boker USA come up. They are the only authorized issuer of ISBNs, and you can buy ISBNs from them one at a time, or you can go ahead and you can buy them 500 at a time. We buy them in 250 count blocks.
Okay.
So the nice thing about that is, though, and this is the other part that people, and this is something that Justin Lanasa never did, is when you get an ISBN number, there are literally 6 pages of information you have to fill out on the product. Everything from name, title, who the publisher is again. You have to put in the size of the books, page count, how many come in a case pack, do you wholesale, who's your wholesaler. They ask a ton of information, and a lot of these ISBN agencies that sell them secondhand, they do not fill out that information.
Mm.
And also, if you go to Boker and you buy an ISBN, you can buy a barcode also. You can get the ISBN number, but they'll want to sell you a barcode. I'm going to tell you right now, for anybody watching this right now, we make our own barcodes. Don't spend $35 on a barcode. Go ahead, email me the price of your book and your barcode, your ISBN number. I'll send you an ISBN or a barcode for free. I'll make you a quick barcode and give it to you for free. I'll help out a fellow publisher. You know, if you got 5 or 10 of them, give me the ISBN numbers and a retail price, and I'll send you the nice barcodes that you put on your book. Help you out for free.
Cool.
Eric, thank you for tuning in our video. He says, listening for the last 40 minutes, I feel smart already. Seriously, damn good info. Thank you. That's what we're here for. RPG Grandma, good to know. So again,
I came here for the bourbon.
Yeah. So this is critical to understand, ladies and gentlemen. Things like the ISBN number that you think, what's the big deal? I can go online and get one for $25. Number one, you're taking so many risks.
Yeah.
You don't know if that ISBN is going to be registered to you, which it won't be if it's through a secondhand agency. Not only that, but are they filling out all of that back-end information? So when you go into Barnes & Noble, like I'll give you an example. Anyone going to Barnes & Noble and say, I want to order a book, and the first thing they do is they ask you the title, right? And what are they doing? They're typing in the computer the title. And then they may turn the screen around because there might be 5 books with the same title. But if you notice, all the information's in there. So if you go to Barnes & Noble and you want to buy Haunted Ruins, you can go to Barnes & Noble and buy it. When you ask for Haunted Ruins, it'll pull up this, and I think there's like 2 novels, and there's something else that those Haunted Ruins of Ireland is what it was. Oh. And what they do is, the next step they'll do is you have the ISBN number, and you give it, and boom, bingo, it hits. So very, very critical things that people need to understand when you're making games.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, to me, you get this, you're fraught with the problem of not spending enough money. It's like, you know, bending over a quarter to pick up a dime is the old saying. You know,
but publishing costs money, and that's another thing people do not understand. It's like I said something a couple weeks ago, and you were surprised. I saw a look on your face right here on video when I said, my lawyer has made me more money than my lawyer's cost. Yeah, and you went, really?
I was actually going to bring that up.
Yeah, because there's a price of doing business, and you can do it half-ass, but keep in mind one thing. When you do it half-ass and you go to a distributor like Alliance Games, okay, and you present your product to them, they're going to do all that background research. They're going to look at the ISBN number. And I'll tell you right now, as soon as they see clown show, you're going to get that polite email back saying, thank you very much, but that genre is currently full right now, or we're right now, we'll get back to you. And let me give you the English translation of certain terms. We'll get back to you means piss off.
Right.
Okay. Or any other myriad of no thank you means no thank you. And usually it's not because you got a bad product. You got the greatest game in the world. But if they see the fact that you can't handle the basics as a publisher, a proper ISBN, a proper UPC code, oh, you're saying you're CCFP certified, they're going to go in that database and they're going to look.
And when
if you're
not,
not,
you're fraudulent.
they're not going to want to touch you, because now you're liable for them. Because if Alliance Games carries Don's board game and I have it certified for 3 years old and up, and a 5-year-old chokes to death in Minnesota on it, okay, guess what? I'm being sued. But guess who else is getting sued? Alliance Games, for carrying that game product that they should have known and done their due diligence on.
So, it has nothing to do with politics that,
No.
White distributor don't want to carry my book, which is just all BS. It really is about liability. And if you're a clown show, you're a clown show.
Let me tell you something. I've been in between game publishing and book publishing. I've been in this business for almost 20 years. Okay. Sure. And not once have I ever had a bookseller or a game publisher go, when I'm on the phone with them or email, go, can I ask you what color you are? That's all of that. And I'm just going to say it, all that rhetoric by Wonderfilled Games and all that rhetoric by New TSR is just that. It's rhetoric designed to make excuses for their lack of due diligence on their product. Okay? I'm not labeling their games bad. What I'm saying is if your version of best practices, okay, is the fact that you got to make excuses like that, then that's exactly what it is. You're not performing the basics of best practices.
Well, excuses are like buttholes. Everybody's got one and most of them stink.
Exactly. And the thing is this, is like, I'll give you an example. I am notorious. Okay. I wear shorts 365 days a year. My wife will laugh and tell you that, you know what?
You're my buddy, Billy.
Yeah. 60 below zero. I'm out there shoveling the driveway. I'm wearing shorts and tennis shoes. And when I had my publishing company, I wore shorts and tennis shoes and an open shirt. Okay. I did not inspire the typical publisher 3-piece suit and everything. And a lot of times people would walk in, they would kind of go,
you're the boss?
Yeah. But the difference was this. When you walked into my publishing business, my business was legit. It was brick and mortar. The women up front were all dressed. Comfortable business.
There's another quote. There's another proverb. It takes more effort to do something wrong than to do it right the first time.
Yes. And do not let don't blame your lack of knowledge and your lack of research, because without proper research, you're not going to have proper knowledge.
Yeah.
Okay. And this was something that, and I'm not going to name a game or company, but I used to associate with a game company in mid 2021 to the end of 2021, first part of 2022. And my arguments with Voldemort, the person who ran the game company, all the time was over, do it right. There's a right way of doing this. It'll pay off in the end. Well, yeah. The problem is, to do it right takes effort and hard work and time. Like you, it right now in Michigan is 9:00 at night. When we're done with this video, I've got probably 3 more hours worth of work that I got to do, because I'm doing, I'm working with David Floor and I got to get him stuff for Zonk. Sure, I could go ahead and say, I'll do it tomorrow. No, it's got to be done tonight. And that's the thing. If you're going to get into business for yourself, you got to know, you got to be able to say, you know what? I do want to go enjoy myself tonight, but you know what? I got work I got to do, damn it. Elko Antioch says, what downside would claiming your game is safe for 12 up, or 12 and up only be? Is that what you mean? What downside would claiming your game is safe for 12 and up only. What's the downside of that? Well, as an example, I'll give you a good example of that. Let's say that you have a game where the infamous C word is being used a lot, or you're F-bombing it in your game, or you have graphic, explicit sexual content. The problem is, yeah, do some parents not care? Yeah, of course. A lot of my wife teaches developmental kindergarten, and there's kids in that grade that have their own iPad at this age with open access to the internet. The problem is this, is do you want the bad PR that goes along with it if someone raises a stink? And number two, but more importantly, is that morally sound of you to make a 12 and older designation on a game that you know that has adult content?
Well, I don't know that Elka Van Eyck is. I'm going to play devil's advocate here. I don't know that he's saying, so what? I've got
no.
in there.
That's not what I'm saying. I get his question. I understand his question.
He's probably talking about maybe, all right, so I'm not going to certify it for 3 and up or for, to do that fraudulent that we were talking about earlier. I think he's just saying, yeah, fine, screw it. I'll just say it's good for 12 and up.
Well, there is no safety certification for 13 and older. You know where the whole 13 and older thing gets from? If you notice, you see everything from social media on up always uses that 13-year-old designation, because there's a thing, it's a federal law that was passed in 2011 called COPPA, COPPA. It is the Congressional Online Privacy Protection Act. And what it designates in there is this, is children cannot go online and sign up for social media unless they're 13 or older. Children, 13 years is this magical number that they chose. Don't ask me why. But they chose 13 years old under the COPPA law to be this designation. That's why everything is generated 13 and older, and all of that. That's why
I would have guessed it was related to PG-13, and which was started with Indiana, with Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yes, that was the impetus way back then, but it was never a formal law. It was just kind of like an industry. Some followed it, some didn't. Right. Well, Congress I think it was 2000, it might have been 2010, they put their foot down. They said, no, the internet's getting bigger, more and more children, social media is becoming a big thing now. We need to pass a law, and they did the 13 and older thing. Okay. That's the reason why we're in the process of creating the TTGRA, which is the Tabletop Game Rating Authority, which is basically the rating authority that you see like for movies and music. This is a rating authority that's voluntary only, that's going to be for, and we could do a video on this, it's going to be for game manufacturers. So you can get your game certified okay for a specific age range.
So you're going to have a board. You're going to have a board for that, just like there's a board that reviews movies and assigns a rating.
Yes, it's going to be a group of 5 people, and one of them is an attorney, and one of them's a physician, and one of them is a developmental kindergarten teacher who is HighScope certified, who is Montessori school certified. But also, Scott Mulder, thank you for tuning in. He says, as a creator, if I want, for example, Wizard Tower to produce my game or book, what is the process? Well, what the process is number one, a video call or a phone call first where we talk about your product. Tell us about your product. What is it? What are your ideas for age range? Is it a board game? We learn about it. Then, if it's something that we both want to continue on, then, as an example, there's a few different ways you can do it. If it's ready to go, you got the art, the rules written, and everything else, we can take your product, get it edited, and manufacture test copies to get it in a play test. Or if you have just the idea and you have a rough idea written on paper, then what we can do is we can take that and we can then formally turn it into rules, and we can basically do it from stem to stern, A to Z.
I want to interject something here.
Sure.
Concerning play tests. One of the things you absolutely don't want to do is you do not want to run your play test with friends and family. Because friends and family are going to say, oh, I love it, it's wonderful, it's great. And they're not going to be critical because they're friends and family. You need to take this out in the wild to a game store and run it with people who don't give 2 spits who you are, and we'll give you an honest eval of the game.
And for those of you who want to do play testing in the wild, it's called in stores, If you want a form that we use, I'll happily give it to you for free. I want to help out as many game manufacturers and up and coming game producers as possible. It's a simple form that while they're playing the game, they fill it out. It's basically just their first name, their sex, and their age, because we need those 3 basic demographics. And it asks basic questions about the product. Tom, you made a good point. Friends and family, they're not lying to you, okay? They're not doing it to harm you. They do it because they love you. They care about you.
Yes.
And they don't want to hurt your feelings. But let me tell you something, and we're running into this earlier today. That young guy I was trying to help, I asked him a question. I challenged him on one of his things. Remember, he got upset at me. He called me nitpicking. As a game producer, okay, if someone play tests my game and says, I dislike your game, I'm not offended. My next question will always be, tell me why. Be constructive. I don't mind a 1-star review on Amazon.
Where am I screwing up?
Absolutely. Let's make it better, because that's the purpose of playtesting. Yeah. Mark Green Mixer or Johnny Mixer says, you're so knowledgeable in the industry, it's a head scratcher on why new TSR would not follow every suggestion you make to them. You know what? There's a basic flaw with many people, and I have a little bit of it too, okay? And that is, nobody wants to be told they're wrong. Nobody wants to be told,
I'm never wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Trust me, I deal with Tom all the time. He's never wrong. No, me and Tom and Eric are working on a game. We just had an hour-long video conference, me, you, and Eric. I thought it went great. Everybody was throwing ideas at each other. Nobody was offended. Nobody got butt hurt over silly stuff, you know. But Tom's right. You have to have the ability to listen to critique. You have to have the ability to have someone look at you and say, I just played your game and I dislike it. Why? And they lay out the reasons. And more important than not being offended, the most important part is you have to listen to what they're saying. Okay, you didn't like my game because of the rules were confusing. Okay, maybe, if I'm having 50 people play test the game and you're the only person that says that, chances are the rules are not an issue. Mm-hmm. But if I'm play testing a game and I have 50 people giving input and 15 or 20 people are giving input that the rules are confusing, there might be an issue with the rules, and I need to seriously look at that. And there's another aspect here that's really, really important, and I'm not going to name the game, but I recently helped a guy with a card game. And we didn't end up doing the project all the way through. And the problem that with this individual is a common problem, and that is they like it, so they want it in the game. But the problem is it didn't work because it was play tested here in Michigan. And I had like 60 some odd play test sessions, but people play testing it. And it came up, this issue with this one part came up in 2/3 of them. But because he liked that aspect of the game, he would not remove it. And it's like, you got to get past that, but I like it though. Great. D20 delving, there's things that I like. Tim went ahead and said, Don, this doesn't work, and this is the reason why. Well, guess what? The man has a little bit of mileage under his buckle. He knows what he's talking about. It might do me good to listen to him. So I did, even though it was taking things out of the game that I really enjoyed.
Sometimes you have to be willing to listen to somebody with expertise that you don't have. And you have to be willing to say, all right, I hear you. I don't like what you're saying. In fact, it even pisses me off. But I understand that you've got more knowledge in this area. And that's why I married the good wife who's over there. Because I just determined after one failed marriage, it says, I want a smart woman. I want a smart woman. And she's got expertise in special ed, which is great because I have a daughter with special needs. She has educated me and I'm like, oh God, I wish I'd met you years ago. You know,
you make a good point of something. And this is a fact. If you surround yourself, and I learned this at my publishing company, if you surround yourself with good people who know what they're doing and you listen to them, good things will happen.
Well, wasn't that what Carnegie wrote about in his book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, about like surrounding yourself? Was that Carnegie? I
I don't
could have
know.
this wrong.
Yeah, I feel
Carnegie
like
about
it is.
having
Yeah.
surrounding yourself with people who know more than you about the topic.
That's critical, because that was one of the things that my publishing company we did. We had a Monday meeting and we had a Friday meeting. The purpose of the Friday meeting was to go, or let me back up. The purpose of the Monday meeting was to say, okay, Monday morning, 9 o'clock in the morning, they all sat around my desk in my office, all the ladies, and we said, okay, any problems on the horizon? Anyone have any issues with any customers, any clients? Do we have any forest fires we got to put out here coming up this week? We want all these questions answered. And then on Fridays, we always shut down at noon. We went 2 doors down to the saloon. It was called the Copper Saloon. And I would buy hot dogs and beer for all the ladies. And we'd eat hot dogs, drink cold beer, and we called it liquid lunch. And on Liquid Lunch Friday, we had the post week meeting. Okay, how'd everything go this week?
How do I sign up for that job?
Yeah, but they loved it. And then after the meeting, everybody got paid. They worked with normal hours were till 5. We get done usually about 1:30 or 2. They'd all go home. They got paid till 5. Again, you got to keep the people. Again, it's a cash investment. It's a money investment. And that's what I'm doing with what I want to do with Wizard Tower is, as we hire people and bring staff on, I'm going to bring those principles into the business, because I don't care how much I know or how much I think I know. If I don't have competent people working for me and backing me up, I'm going to fail every single time. Mark's Johnny says, Don, did you apply for the CEO position? Yeah, no. CEO position at WotC? No.
I heard
No.
somebody else was throwing his hat in the ring for it. Somebody in Wilmington, North Carolina.
We can say it's a public post. Justin Lanasa from New TSR said that he was going to apply for the job. I give the man kudos. You know what? It takes real balls, okay, to apply for the CEO position that you're suing the company for. Got to give him that.
I don't know if that's balls though. I don't.
No, he did. He really did.
No, I know, but I don't know if that's actual like chutzpah.
You know what? Maybe it's not chutzpah, but it might be a little bit of hubris and ego.
Hubris.
Yes.
That's a good word.
You know.
Hubris.
But in all seriousness, though, you know, and you know, we're past 9 o'clock. We've been an hour into this. We like to keep our videos by an hour. I want to say this, and I'll let Tom close it out. And that is, for anybody who is starting up a game business or starting up any business, okay, nobody generally starts out hiring 15 people. You always start off, you're working out of your den, your basement, your garage, but you got to have the ability and the drive to say, you know what, I got to be up to 1 o'clock in the morning tonight working. You know, I got to get up early tomorrow and get right back to it. You got to be able to do it. Gary Vaynerchuk, who is I actually know him now. We talk on the phone. He is famous for his work ethic. He's a guy that's on Facebook a lot. His name's Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V. Look him up. And he has this thing, and that is, you got to be able to grind. You got to be able to work hard. And if you can't do it on Sunday and you got an excuse, remember one thing, that's all it is it's a flipping excuse. And there is another guy I follow that I wish I knew. I'd love to be able to talk to him. He is the first black Navy SEAL, David Gosling. And he basically says flat out that, listen, you got a birthday party for your kids? So yeah, go to your birthday party, have cake, and say, I got to get going because I got to get back because I got work I got to do. And it's an extreme, but the attitude that you have to have when you're going to have your own business, ladies and gentlemen, real simple as this, and that is, you got to be able to work for it, because it doesn't come easy. No one's going to hand it to you. And remember one thing, it's okay if you screw up, because trust me, there's 50 people behind you that won't screw up. And there's 50 people behind you that'll make sure they do it right the next time. That's why I tell people, keep your bloody, dirty laundry off the internet. As a company, don't post politics because you're isolating a portion of your customer base. Don't post your religious stuff online because you're isolating a portion of your customer base. And don't sit there and post your dirty laundry that you're broke or got issues or anything like that, because that takes customer confidence away from you.
Yes. Agreed.
You know, yep. So you got to keep it clean, keep it positive. And, you know, just like with me, I got no problem giving out my form for free. I don't mind helping people out and making an ISBN barcode for them. I'll give you a barcode. I can make it 30 seconds.
You run into those people who are like, I don't want any business if you're MAGA. I don't want any business if you voted for Biden.
Yeah.
I want all your business if you're MAGA, and I want all your business
Absolutely.
for Biden. I want to be a success.
Yeah.
I don't care who gives me money. Money, the color of money is green. It's not red or blue. And honestly, it's, and
Who cares? Yeah.
when it comes to religion,
Who cares?
look, I have friends who are Jewish. I
Yeah.
have friends who are Mormon. I have friends who are Christian. I have friends who are Muslim. I've had arguments with many of them. Doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter.
Well, I'll give you a good point about people and the inability, and don't become this way. Don't be this person. Any of you out there, don't be this person. That is, I have a friend of mine who has a Kickstarter going right now. And what he's doing right now is he's trying to figure out marketing. And we were talking earlier today on Facebook, and he was really frustrated because he was reaching out to online video creators. And he was like, hey, would you do me a favor to help me out? I've helped you out. I've liked and shared your page and everything. Could you just share my Kickstarter link? And he said every one of them wanted money to do it.
Wow.
And the thing is, don't be that way. Don't be that guy, okay? It doesn't hurt you to say yes to help out somebody, because you don't know later on where they're going to be, where they might be in a position to help you.
Yeah.
And, RPG Grandma says it's a ton of work and people don't get it. You're darn right it is. And Rod says, and by the way, for everybody, Rod is a game publisher and a talented one at that. He knows what he's talking about. He says, say that part about dirty laundry again. I know several people, decent people, who constantly make comments about how their life sucks. Why would I buy anything from you if I fear you're going to cave? Exactly it. And by the way, that's the lecture I give another creator online. We all know who he, me and you know who he is, Tom. And I tell him, stop posting your dirty laundry online. Stop telling people you're broke, because if you're broke and you're saying it, why are people going to invest in your product? Because now you're jeopardizing them, your product, because you're saying that you don't have the money.
Because we're going to
So
give you
stop.
thousands of dollars, and you're so broke that we got to buy you a coffee. It
See,
does not
and
give confidence.
exactly. And I sympathize with the man. Lord knows, okay? Me and my wife have been through hard times in our marriage and life, okay? Raising daughters. My wife was a teacher. I went through a period in my life where I was very ill, and literally my wife practically had to wipe my backside. I was so sick, and for a very long time.
Well, that's
And money was
the
tight.
picture anybody wants to think about, Don.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you lived next door, we could have really been friends, but
Well, you listen. I was a nurse's aide, but
yeah.
I don't do it for family.
Okay, fine, whatever.
Oh my
But no,
goodness.
but the point I'm trying to make is that, I get the fact that money can be tight for people. And that's why I'm willing to help somebody. If you come to me and say, Don, listen, I need some help, man. I need some work done. I don't got any money. I'm just now starting up. We'll work something out. Maybe I'll say, I'll make you a deal. I'll do this for you, but tell you what you do. You got a good YouTube channel. Share my X product on your YouTube. Let's work a deal. It doesn't always have to be about cash. So don't be that type of person where it's always about the dollars.
Yeah.
Helping your fellow man or your fellow woman out a little bit doesn't hurt you at all. It costs nothing for me to take 30 seconds, enter a barcode ID, UPC number, and give you a barcode.
Yeah.
So that's basically my spiel for tonight. I hope some people got some stuff out of me and Tom's video tonight, because we want to help. And, me and Tom, and I can tell you right now about the man sitting next to me, we talk all the time, and he's willing to help anybody. And so am I. And
Yeah.
and one more thing I'm going to say, and then I'm done. And you got the rest of it. And that is this. Far too many people get this idea that, well, I don't want to help him. If I help that guy right there, he's going to be a competitor of mine. And my thing to you is this, is if you lack so much confidence in your own skills and your own product that you're worried about another guy taking your business, then you probably have crappy games and crappy product, and they probably will take your business. you've got to be that guy to say, you know what, the reason I'm willing to help Tom, because although Tom's a talented game designer and Tom does his own thing, I'm confident in my game designs too. So I'm not worried about Tom, because plus a little bit of well-heeled advice. Guess what, folks? There's enough pie for everybody out there. Trust me. What was it they say? Forbes said that in 2022, tabletop non-electric gaming was responsible for something like $150 billion in revenue for companies.
That's amazing.
That is amazing. And don't sue the company that is responsible solely for 8.75% of
it. And, that's amazing that it's 8.57%. That means there's a lot of percentage out there to go around for everybody else.
Exactly.
And it's not just RPGs. It's board games. It's war games. It's just cool stuff, card games. And, rising tide lifts all boats. But, and I'm always into into having the nice quotes. That's kind of me. My
Little
new
buttons.
job at the school system, I'm always putting a quote on the board. And now I got like 3 or 4 boys who are like can I write the quote? And they come in with their own quote, and they're like competing with each other to put their own quote up on the board. And they have good quotes. And so I'm like, yeah, it saves me effort. So go ahead. I let them fight it out.
But look what you did. By doing something so small, you instilled in them. They're literally on the way to school in the school bus going, what kind of quote can I use?
They're looking up stuff from Tupac and from
exactly
sports figures, and they're coming up with really good quotes. And I'm like, wow, I would have never come up with that quote.
RPG Grandma said real quick, the company that committed industrial espionage against my parents' company always was poor quality. That's right. And see, that's another thing. You can set yourself apart by putting out a superior product, and maybe even if it's digital product. If you look at my modules that I put out, my game modules, I do certain things like I make it look like parchment. I do little things to say, what's the difference between Wizard Tower Games module and ABC Publishing's module? Little things like that. RPG Grandma also says, my parents didn't go after them because it would mean no competition. Exactly. Yeah. Tammy.
Now I'm wicked curious. What were
my
her
man is absolutely a super educator. Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Bias.
You are like, he's really killing it, and I'm super judgy about that stuff. I don't give out those accolades easily.
You know what it is? I'm working with middle schoolers and middle schoolers.
But you are a middle schooler,
and I am a middle schooler at heart. And I was warned that middle schoolers are buttholes. And I lived in Boston for so long, where we call ourselves massholes. And I'm like, middle schoolers, they're my people. I friggin' love this age group, and I'm having a great time with them. And so even though they can whine like little babies, it doesn't matter. I totally get them, and I really relate to them, and I really enjoy them. So yeah, but my last bit of wisdom is that I will give, and I say this with all sincerity, because everybody talks Sun Tzu. Have you read Sun Tzu? And then they do these Sun Tzu quotes, and I love Sun Tzu. Don't get me wrong. I've read Sun Tzu 4 or 5 times. Poor Richard's Almanac, written by Benjamin Franklin. And here's the point, is that he was pulling other entrepreneurs together, and they were talking about things, and they were like, what are you doing in your business that's working today? And so he was pulling these guys together, and he was getting them to come together and be like this brain trust of what is working for your company today. And Poor Richard's Almanac, honestly, I think it's better than Sun Tzu. I think it's worth reading. Poor Richard's Almanac by Benjamin Franklin.
It's more timely.
And yeah, Sun Tzu's great, but you really got to think about it. You really got
to
find a way to apply it. And yeah, it's great. Poor Richard's Almanac is a book of wisdom. And honestly, I would go with that. I'm always about the quotes. And it's just written as just little proverbs and quotes. It's fantastic. And if you dig into that, you will find wisdom there that you go, I'm going to do this today, and you'll be like, that was brilliant. And Benjamin Franklin was never a president, but he's on the $50 $100 bill.
Well, my question is this: while we have 20 people watching, we have 20 people right now, 19 now opened up on the screen. I have a question for all of you, if you'd please answer this, please. And that is this: what would you like our next show to be about? Because actually this Thursday at 8 p.m. we are having Eric Tenkar from Tenkar's Tavern on our show, where we are talking about we planned this, we talked about it in our video meeting.
I thought we were starting that next week.
No, we're doing this Thursday. Remember, we're trying to dance this around because of Eric's live on Wednesday and Friday.
Yes.
So what we're doing is we're going to be talking about Blades and Sorcery, the new RPG game that Eric has signed up for, having Wizard Tower Games published. What? Might as well say it. We got a bunch of people online.
Let me talk to the boss. Good wife.
Yes.
When are we driving to Massachusetts?
As soon as you get your butt home. So you might want to leave
Thursday.
a little early.
Oh.
No, it's okay. He'll get there. So, we just have a master's graduation, our oldest.
Well, how about this?
My son is graduating with his master's degree. I got to.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to post tomorrow the time. It may be a little bit later. Eric's in here still going oof and smiley face. Eric, we'll get the time figured out. It may be 8:30, 9 o'clock due to Tom's scheduling and all that. But real quick, while we got 18 people in here, please, any ideas what you'd like to have our next show be about next week? People, here's your chance right here live. Throw some ideas at us. What would you guys like? And in the meanwhile, while we're doing that, Rod says, I sent you a list on thank you.
I want to plug something Tammy and I are doing. We went to a murder mystery dinner with a Western theme. And so all of the actors playing the murder mystery, they had names like Big Nose Kate, Doc Holliday, Wyatt Earp.
Holiday, remember?
Doc Holliday, yeah.
It was a play.
Yeah, so it was, you were familiar with all the names, but they were kind of slightly different characters. And so we thought, you know what, this is the kind of thing that's right up the alley of RPGers. It's a little different than an RPG, but it's really, and we had such a great time, and I was totally like leaning on RPG skills for this during the whole thing. And so Tammy and I thought we would do a little review of our I don't even know what it's called. And it was the benefit the MSPCA and a horse farm that takes in abused horses and then rehabs them, gets them healthy, and then gets them adopted. And so the money was to help horses, so it was a good cause. Who doesn't like horses, and who doesn't, feel like it, because their biggest way to make money was they had the not so dry gulch saloon. And so you went in and you paid overpriced money for alcohol, for adult beverages. And
we're going to have Tom and Tammy talking.
And so we're going to do a review on that. We got that in the works, and we just want to talk about that a little bit and promote that to other gamers to look into that, because apparently we did not know this. There's like this whole thing, and the couple sitting opposite us, this was their third, and so they were giving us, oh yeah, the clues are very subtle, and I'm in my mind I'm thinking, subtlety with RPGers is a sledgehammer.
Well, also, there's also, and you and Tammy might be interested in this, I've never played them, but my friend Melissa on my Facebook is really into them, and that is, there are like a game kit you can buy, and they send it to you, and it's got everything in there, like the mystery, who the characters are, and everybody in the family or your friends will pick a character. You got to dress up like them and such, and you play through this mystery of, like, it's classic, like, Uncle Bob got murdered at the family dinner, who killed Uncle Bob and how do you do, like a clue type thing.
Right. Yeah. Well, the nice part about this is that they had paid actors. So
Oh, that's cool.
These people, this is what they do. It's, Mystery 207 on.
Yeah, Mystery 207.
Mystery 207 is
207 is the area code of the
207
entire state of Maine.
Is the area code for the entire. Yeah, we're so big, we just have one area code.
My city alone has 4 area codes.
I love that.
So they are very good at what they do. They're getting paid for this, and it was just great. And like everybody was showing up in costume, and it was fantastic. Although one costume was like pirate and wench and not Western, but it's okay. Who cares? So it's almost like a little side of LARPing in there. And I've never LARPed, but I did enjoy pulling on my alligator high cowboy boots and putting on a hat that was not exactly Western, but more turn of the century coal miner appropriate. But
well, I think that basically what really needs to happen here is we got to figure out first, for Blades and Sorcery, we got to do. Hold on. No, give me 5 minutes, okay? So basically, what we're gonna do is my wife threw on a train of thought.
Derailed.
Derailed big time. So we got to figure out, we'll get with Eric, we'll post the time on our Facebooks and everything. It's going to be between 8 and 9 o'clock. We're going to do it, talk about Blades and Sorcery, Light and everything, and explain the difference between Blades and Sorcery Light, and so on and so forth. And then, other than that, Tom, I think this video's a wrap, man. We're at an hour and a half.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You guys might just go forward, and we'll be in comments. We'll be in the live stream comments if we're on the road.
It depends on traffic. It takes about 4.5 hours to get there.
Yeah, to get to where the stepson lives in Midwestern Mass.
Okay.
Yeah. So well, we got to go, because how often do you have a kid graduate with their master's degree?
That's very true. Congratulations to him, by the way.
So
that's quite the feat to do.
Yeah.
So, well, everybody, thank you very much. Do me a favor. You're not sure if you're watching on Tabletop Tap Room, Wizard Tower Games, or the Vlog of Many Things, but wherever you're at, if you go down that bottom right hand corner and hit that like and subscribe, or at least just hit the subscribe button, that'd be greatly appreciated. We're both trying to grow all of our respective channels. Again, thank you everybody for posting comments and doing. Without you, this would be a 10-minute show, and I'm dead serious. I say it every week, but I mean it.
Yeah, and we appreciate the people who show up all the time. You guys are great.
The support is absolutely what we need. And again, if you guys have any ideas, if you have any thoughts on what you want to do, reach out to me or Tom. Say, hey, I have an idea for next week's show, or maybe a show. Throw it at us. Again, feedback. We don't know what you want. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, everyone, much appreciated. So, on behalf of everybody, I'm Don.
And I'm Tom.
And this is the Vlog of Many Things signing off. Everybody, have a good, safe week. And by the way, tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, go to 10 Cars Tavern, and he has his midweek. Is Bad Mike on middle of the week one?
Yes.
Bad Mike.
Yeah.
And that's Talking Crit. And then it's Random Party Generator on Friday night.
And then Saturday, of course, is Gamer's
some
Hell.
Comments from Glenn Hallstrom on Friday night. I guess somebody contacted him. They didn't like him saying something.
Yeah.
Previous.
And I'll just say that. Remember one thing: if you're going to open up your big fat yapper, make sure that somebody doesn't have Discord video of what you're plotting against people.
That doesn't apply to Glenn.
No, not apply to Glenn. Some dungeon masters are evil out there. You never know. So we'll find out. But all right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Have a good night, okay?
All right, bye-bye.